Hi everyone, I'm Mrs. Appleblatt, and I'm going to be reading to you chapters 41 through 45. Here we go. Chapter 41, Absolute Zero. I go into the bathroom. Ainsley's at the mirror, touching up her makeup, packing her arsenal of cosmetics into a designer tote bag. Oh, are you here to clean another toilet? Or do you plan on going dumpster diving again? I saw you with your head buried in the trash barrel. I totally Instagrammed your butt. At that moment, I'm kind of glad I don't really do social media. Today will be a sweet, sweet victory for me, Ainsley continues. In 10 minutes, I'll be winning the Forensics Club competition, where, hello, I am totally going to crush it. Next Thursday is the talent show, where, of course, I will be emerging victorious. And then Friday will be even sweeter. That's when Dr. Throckmorton and the Chumley family will be handing me the first ever Excelsior Award. Congratulations, I say, trying hard not to sound as defeated as I feel. Congratulations to you too, Piper. It sounds like you've finally accepted your fate. It's always wise to quit while you're behind. She laughs and exits the bathroom, leaving a stack of pink note cards on the sink. They're sitting right there. I can't resist. I pick them up. It's her entire speech for the Forensics Club competition. Without her pink cards, Ainsley Braden Hammerschmidt won't know what to say. She had to use note cards to tell the judges about her science project. They're like her crutch. I read what she's written. Seems she's picked an excellent topic, especially since Mrs. Zamek is the main judge for the forensics competition. Ainsley's planning on persuasively arguing that for her hard work and dedication, Mrs. Patricia Zamek should be named Teacher of the Year at Chumley Prep. But if Ainsley doesn't have her cards, she'll freeze. I know she will. Is this my lucky day? These cards could help me sabotage Ainsley the way Ainsley sabotaged me after the science fair. I am so tempted to tear up her precious notes and flush them down the toilet. But then the toilet would probably get clogged and water would pour all over the floor. And that poor janitor's next panic attack would be on me. I also remember what I've written in my journal for Mr. Van Dusen. Do I really want to become Ainsley? I make up my mind. I know what I have to do. I grab the cards. Chapter 42, Retrograde Orbit. I take them to Ainsley out in the hall. Here, I say, you forgot your notes. Ainsley eyes me suspiciously. Did you rearrange them? Shuffle them up? I didn't do anything, I tell her. I'm just taking your suggestion. I'm quitting while I'm behind. Over the weekend, Dad can see I'm feeling sort of down. I think that's why he made pancakes for breakfast. The kind with chocolate chip smiley faces. They're usually my fave, but I'm not really hungry. So I just cut them into wedges and push them around the plate like syrup sponges. Hey, I have a great idea, he says, trying to cheer me up. After breakfast, let's go to the animal shelter. You can get started on your Seniors for Seniors project. You want to do that today? I shrug. Not really. Well, the paper says there's a new show at the planetarium. Nellie Dumont Frisay is the narrator. I nod. Piper, you love the planetarium. You love Dr. Frisay. What could be better than this? Not today, Dad. Maybe some other time. Sure, kiddo. Another time would be great. I'm glad I spoke up for myself. I just wish I had something better to speak up about. I walk Mr. Pugsley twice on Saturday, twice on Sunday. He stares at me with his big, buggy eyes. I think he feels sorry for me, too. I call Hannah, but she's not home. Her mother tells me she went to the mall with her new friend, Caitlin. I don't leave a message. At night, it's so cloudy, there are no stars in the sky, only fog. I think even Ursa Major has taken the weekend off. Monday morning, Dad and I drive back to Chumley Prep. This is, of course, the first day of the final week before the winner of the Excelsior Award is announced. The talent show is scheduled for Thursday night, the award presentation for Friday morning. We assume the judges will huddle after the big show, the one I won't be in, and make their final decisions. There's always next year, hun, says Dad, because that's the daddish thing to say when your daughter more or less sulks through an entire weekend. So how does Brooke sound on your song? I ask. She and Dad rehearsed together 3 times over the weekend. Amazing. The girl has it. You know what I mean? Yep, I do. So I guess there never really was any way I could have beaten her, huh? I said. Dad doesn't answer. Instead, he does what dads do. He changes the subject. Hey, I have an idea. Why don't you help me help Brooke? How? Become my assistant again. You know, like when you helped me at the Capella contest. Sure, I say. Why not? I've got nothing better to do this weekend. Atta girl. I find out from Siraj and Emily that their rehearsals with Tim are going great. Tim saws me in half while Beethoven's Fifth Symphony triumphantly blares on a boombox, says Emily. We think the judges will be impressed, adds Siraj. We also think you and Tim should kiss and make up, said Emily. Well, not the kissing part. That's just a figure of speech. We're the Hibbleflits, Piper adds Siraj. We need to stick together. I know they're right, but I'm still feeling sorry for myself. After classes, I head over to the pack. I'm right back where I started. I'm Dad's gopher, going for this, going for that, going for whatever Brooke needs to sing and sound her best. Mr. Millie? Brooke says, sort of sheepishly. Yesterday, my father told me he doesn't want me singing a show tune. But it shows off your voice beautifully. I know. It's why I picked your song in the first place. But my father thinks I should sing O mio babino caro. He says it's much more important. Dad nods. It is. Is that the caliber of song they might sing at Juilliard or the Academy of Vocal Arts in Philadelphia? Probably. But you're only in middle school, Brooke. My father says it's never too early to plan for the future. Of course, I understand. Dad leaves the room to go find the O mio babino caro sheet music in his office. Brooke coughs a little. You need water, I say? Thanks, said Brooke, when I hand her a bottle of room temperature water. Your dad is pretty awesome. Yeah, I say, he truly is. I'm guessing Brooke's father never makes her smiley face pancakes to try to cheer her up. Dad comes back with the music. I'm sorry about this, Mr. Millie, says Brooke. I'd rather do your song. But my father, that's all right, said Dad. We'll save my piece for when we do the show. Poor Dad. I wish I could say or do something to make him feel better, because I think Brooke's father is making Dad feel like me, and right now, that's not much fun. Chapter 43, Talent Quest. That night over dinner, which we have at a fast food place because Brooke kept us rehearsing O mio babino caro forever, I tell Dad how Sim, Suraj, and Emily are all working together in the talent show. Good for them, he says. Do they know that Dr. Throgmorton wrote up some new rules, which you read very carefully? You bet I did. So what are they? Every student can only appear in one act. Dr. Throgmorton doesn't want anybody trying to impress the Excelsior judges by appearing on stage 2 or 3 different times. I don't think any of my friends are all that interested in the Excelsior Award anymore, I say. They just want to help Tim. We finish our food and head for home. The skies have cleared. I can see the stars. Ursa Major is right up there, right where she's supposed to be, protecting her daughter. Or maybe she's nudging her. In fact, if you look at the arrangement of the 2 constellations a little differently, it's almost like Mama Bear sent Baby Bear spinning with a good, swift headbutt. All of a sudden, I'm saying something out loud that doesn't sound like me saying it. I really wish I could do something in the talent show. You can, honey, said Dad. It's not too late. But I'll never win. You might. Hey, you might even win the Excelsior Award. That's a bad hypothesis, Dad. I don't know, kiddo. Some of the teachers have been grumbling about Dr. Throgmorton's decision to disqualify your science fair victory. You really think I have a chance? It's a possibility, Piper. What's that famous quote Nellie Dumont Frisé always says? Shoot for the moon. Even if you miss, you'll land among the stars. Exactly. But what can I do for the talent show? You're smart. Forget about what everybody else does so well. Singing, dancing, playing the ukulele. Do what you're good at. Do something you love. Nellie Dumont Frisé always says the darkest nights produce the brightest stars. Boy, is this a dark night. I rack my brain to way past midnight, and I still can't think of any talent I could possibly perform on a stage alongside superstars like Brooke or Ainsley or Kwame or even the great Tim Deeney. I make a quick entry to my project for Dr. Van Dusen. What do you want to be? Someone who doesn't give up. The next morning, Dad is on the computer in the kitchen. I got us tickets, he says, next month. Great. Where are we going? To see Journey into the Unknown, the new show at the planetarium I told you about. Oh, cool. He starts reading the blurb. It's an incredible voyage to the far reaches of our known universe, exploring. Yes, Dad's talking, and I'm distracted again, because all of a sudden I realize I do have a talent, one that I know nobody else will be bringing to the stage on Thursday night, because it's not usually considered, a talent in the traditional sense. Astronomy. I just have to find some way to make it as entertaining as a cello solo, an operatic aria, or a magic trick. I have to make it as spectacular as a Nellie Dumont Frisé show at the planetarium. I can't just spend my time gazing up at the stars. I need to become one. Chapter 44, Stars in My Eyes. I think it's fantastic, says Ms. Oliverio when I tell her my idea for the talent show. Go for it, Piper. Shine on, stargazer. Shine on. I decide to not give up on Tim either. We sit together at lunch for the first time since I sent him that angry face emoji. I'm sorry I blamed you for the whole science fair thing, I tell Tim, who's looking down at the dining hall floor. I guess I was just mad and you made an easy target. I'm very sorry it turned out the way it did, he replied without looking up. I was trying to help. You did help, I tell him. You gave my science project pizzazz. It needed pizzazz. Finally, he looks at me in the eye. I see that small smile creep across his face again, and it makes me smile too. Pizzazz, says Kwame. Sounds like what would have happened if Pizza and Jazz got married. Ainsley robbed you, Piper, says Siraj. Well, don't worry, says Emily. On Thursday night, revenge will be ours. Timothy Bartlett shall transform into the great Tim Dini. His magic act will crush Ainsley's cello pieces. Actually, says Tim, Ainsley's very good. I've heard her rehearsing in the pack. But you will amaze and astound your audience, says Emily. You will be fantabulous. You just made up that word, right? Cracks Kwame. Maybe, Emily admits. A laugh goes around the table. It feels good to be with friends again. I suspect, says Siraj, that the talent show will come down to 3 or 4 top contenders. Me, of course, says Kwame. Yes, I would put you on the top tier. Appreciate that, Siraj. Then Brooke and that 6th grader with the guitar I heard rehearsing in the stairwell, and, of course, the great Tim Dini. Everybody nods. No one wants to admit that Ainsley has an excellent chance at winning everything. Guess what, I say? I'm thinking about doing something scientific for the talent show. Like what, asks Kwame. Juggling to show how atomic particles and molecules work? No. Something about the stars. Maybe something like Nellie Dumont Frise does. I'm going to buy a star projector and talk about the constellations. After school, when Dad finishes working with Brooke, he drives me to the electronics store where I spend all of my dog walking money to buy a pretty expensive and super impressive Homestar Planetarium projector. That night, I duct tape black trash bags over the garage windows so no light can leak in. I beam a field of stars against a dark blue sheet I hang off Dad's tool pegboard. It's pretty cool. Sort of like stargazing outdoors minus the mosquitoes. I choose the projector disc that shows Ursa Major, of course. Inside that constellation is another one, the Big Dipper. You can use the Big Dipper to find Polaris, the North Star, which, by the way, is the tail end of the handle of the Little Dipper. The 2 stars forming the outer edge of the bowl of the Big Dipper are named Merak and Dubhe and are known as the pointers because if you draw an imaginary line between them, it'll point you north to Polaris. That's right. Big Mama Bear is always showing the whole world how to, no pun intended, find its bearings. It hits me. This is what my act should be about, finding the North Star, which is how everybody from the Egyptians to the Vikings to the Polynesians was able to chart their courses across unknown seas. Even Shakespeare, thank you, Mr. Van Dusen, wrote about how constant the North Star is in his play, Julius Caesar. Shakespeare, if I quote him, my star projector act will be as classy as a cello solo. Chapter 45, Stars in the Garage. During school on Wednesday, I scope out how the auditorium will be set up for Thursday evening's talent show. There's a big black curtain hanging across the back of the stage. It's perfect for projecting a few billion stars. Next, I write my scripts. I find some dramatic music, including the song We Know the Way from Disney's Moana. The lyrics are perfect. At night, we name every star. We know where we are. We know who we are. Knowing who you are, that's probably even more important than knowing where you are. Because if you know who you are before you set off on a journey, you'll probably have a better idea about where you want to go. I wonder if Mr. Van Dusen has even seen Moana. After school, Dad does one last dress rehearsal with Brooke. Her O Mio Babino Caro sounds amazing, but I'm sort of bored with it. I've only heard her sing it a bajillion times. We head for home. After we both gobble down a quick microwaved dinner, I invite Dad into the garage to see my show. He will be my first audience. He sets up a folding aluminum chair in front of the garage doors and applauds as I take the stage on the oil-stained concrete floor. Welcome, stargazers, I say, feeling giddy, but not the least little bit nervous, because talking about stars is my happy place. Tonight, we will go on a journey without a map or a GPS. Tonight, we will travel using only the stars to guide us. I flick on the projector and flood the dark blue sheet with a spectacular swirled sea of stars. Dad oohs. It's hard not to when you see that many stars. Finding our way under the night's sky is a galaxy-sized version of a Connect the Dots game. I turn up the volume on my soundtrack. I've edited together some very dramatic stuff, most of it from movies. I tell a quick tale about Viking and Egyptian explorers traveling across oceans. When my music shifts to the Moana song, I talk about how the Polynesians followed maps in the stars. They looked at the sky differently than most people and used celestial navigation to become the world's greatest explorers. They were wayfinders working with 1,000 points of light in the sky to find their way to the islands dotting the Pacific. And then I go into the interactive portion of my program. But how do we use the stars when we wish to journey safely into the vast unknown? It's simple, really. We just need to find one star, Polaris, the North Star. The one that's always constant and true. If we know where north is, then we know where south, east, and west are too. Luckily, Polaris is always in the same spot in the sky. It's a constant twinkling light above the North Pole. Then I walk my audience through how they can find the North Star by first finding the Big Dipper inside Ursa Major and following the imaginary line between the two stars in the cup to reach Polaris at the tip of the ladle on the Little Dipper. Amazing, says Dad. Time for my big wrap-up. Yes, the stars can guide us, they can lead us, but it is up to us. It is up to each and every one of us to choose whether or not we will go boldly where others have feared to venture. It is up to us to decide who we will be when this grand journey called life. Who we will be in this grand journey called life. For, as Shakespeare once wrote, it is not in the stars to hold our destiny, but in ourselves. Thank you. Dad leaps out of his lawn chair to give me a standing ovation. Bravo! Incredible! Wow! Shooting for the moon is fun.